Parshas Mishpatim discusses many of the civil laws of the Torah. For example, slave ownership and all of its details. If you borrow something from someone, if you rent something from someone, and all of the laws, different claims that happen in court. And amongst those civil laws are the laws of damages. Famously, one of the Torah's halachas of damages is if someone owns an ox, and that ox damages in an irregular way, like if it gores and kills a neighbor's animal, the halacha is that the owner only needs to pay half damages. That's not a regular thing for oxen to do. We can't hold him fully responsible, so we hold him, instead of paying, let's say, his ox damaged another ox, or his neighbor's dog, which is worth $1,000, he'll have to pay $500. However, if this ox did it 3 times, and the owner was warned 3 times, your ox just damaged someone else's property, then after 3 times from now on, he does need to pay full damage. The ox went through a change from being called a shar tam, a innocent ox, and it's now called a shar muad, a ox that is set in its ways of goring. So from now on, he had to be more careful, and instead of paying for this dead dog $500, if it gores after 3 times another dog worth $1,000, he will have to pay $1,000. Now, one of the ways that this shar muad, this shar which is damaged 3 times, is going to be able to resort back to its original chazaka of being a innocent, sincere ox again, is if the current owner sells the ox to someone else. Let's say Ruvain owns this goring ox, and he sells it to Shimon. Once it goes into Shimon's possession, we no longer view it as a ox which is fixed in its ways of goring. It's no longer a shar muad. It resorts back to going to a shar tam, and if this ox once again gores in the property of Shimon, Shimon will not need to pay $1,000, will not need to pay full damage. He will again only need to pay half damage because the slate has been cleaned and started from the beginning. Why is this so? Why is it that if the shar muad is sold into someone else's property, it goes back to its state of innocence? So there's 2 explanations. One explanation is the ox is the ox, it has its nature, but it's not fair that the second owner wasn't warned 3 times. So the ox didn't change. The ox is the same ox. But the owner is now a new owner, and he needs to be warned 3 times if you want to make him pay full price. Okay, that's one explanation. Others explain, though, that no, when the ox is sold, he's now in someone else's domain. The entire nature and the entire muzzle, the entire wiring of the ox has changed with the fact that he went through Shinei Rishus, that he now belongs to someone else and is someone else's domain. He's in a different culture, he's in a different lifestyle, so we don't say anymore that this ox has the tendency to gore. By now we could give it back a clean slate and a slate of innocence. So says the Rebbe that this has a powerful correlation to our lives as well. We all have an animal inside. We all have a voice inside of us called the nefesh habahamis, an animal soul, which pulls us towards negativity, gives towards sinning, towards making harsh, rash, selfish decisions, and sometimes we sin. And if it happens every so often, for most of us, our animal, when it damages, is only a shar tam. It's an innocent shar that from time to time damages. It's a shock every time a Jewish nefesh habahamis, every time a Jewish animal soul sins. However, sometimes we get so stuck in certain behaviors that our shar becomes a shar muad. This is what addiction looks like at a big scale, which we become so stuck in acting a certain way that we feel there's no way out. I've been so used to sinning, I've been so used to saying things a certain way, to doing things a certain way, that at this point my tendency has become a damaged tendency, a tendency to destroy and to hurt. No longer can I say that every so often I slip up and I can't be held fully responsible, and I am a innocent ox that falls through from time to time. At this point I've become a goring ox. This has just become my tendency. I can't hold myself back. I can't hold my mouth back, my eyes back, my actions back. And at this point, is there any way of changing, of resorting back to innocence, to inner innocence, and to reclaiming our shar, and going back to a default of cleanliness, purity, and innocence? Obviously, we could work rigorously on our action and try to control ourselves, our every impulse, every day, like one way a shar muad could be fixed, which is that it literally holds itself in check until the children are able to play around it. That's one way. But says the Rebbe that from this halacha of Shinei Rishus, we see another much more powerful way, much more existential way that one could change. If someone is stuck in certain bad habits, they just need to go through Shinei Rishus. Instead of living by their own ego, instead of living as a man of their own, by their own drives and their own desires, they could sell their desire, and they could decide, I'm no longer mine. I am now God's. I belong to a higher power, in the language of AA, and the 12 steps, which help people through addiction. I'm no longer mine. I now belong to God, and I submit myself to His will. And the moment I go through a Shinei Rishus, I have personally changed. I no longer belong to myself. I realize my will is damaged, but I now belong to God's will. And the moment someone goes through that one change, they already automatically resort back to their nature of tam. They go back to, they've just embraced their inner wholeness, their inner sincerity, tamos, their inner complete space, the part of them that's never damaged. And from there they could operate in a godly, wholesome way, and no longer need to be viewed as a sharmuad. I'll share an interesting story of a friend of mine. He said I could share his name, but I don't feel comfortable doing that, so I'm going to just call him Yaakov. Yaakov was a big business manager for many who's who in the entertainment industry, different sports players and singers and band leaders. And a very interesting story how I met him one time, shaking lulav and esrog. Anyways, he gets caught one time having embezzled some of his clients' $7 million as part of a big gambling addiction. The man was married with a wife, 3 children, a beautiful home, and everything seemed to be working so well for him. But inside he had this addiction that was left unchecked, and he would borrow money from his clients for the sake of eventually winning it back through gambling so he could get himself back on his feet. But then one thing led to another, and eventually he stole from his clients millions of dollars. He had to go to prison. But right before prison, and while within prison, he worked very hard on his addiction. His parents, his family, his wife, his kids cut ties with him. And I believe it was 3 years later he was let out of prison, was not able to get a job. No one wanted to employ such a person. And had to work really, really at meager basic, a dealership, a restaurant, to make ends meet and to put food on his own table. And at this point, he has turned his life around and is currently licensing as a therapist and helping out other people who go through addiction and other people that have tough times. And he told me that he finds much blessing in his addiction. Before he was living as an egomaniac, as a narcissist, someone incapable of connecting to other people, of loving, of seeing things from someone else's perspective, of living authentically. He was living behind walls. But once he fell through in his addiction, he had now to make a big decision and had a big realization. I cannot live by my own will. My will is damaged. The only way I could live is by living by the will of Hashem. And every single day when I wake up, he tells me, that's what I need to tell myself. I am stuck, so I can't live as me. I need to live as a man of God. And slowly but surely he tells me my children are learning to trust me again. I do have a connection with some of my children again. Some I don't. But even them, I message on their birthdays. I let them know I love them. I don't always expect a response, and I don't expect a response back. But that's okay. Sometimes it hurts what people tell me, but that's okay. Because by now I live by the will of Hashem, and at this point I could say, look what my addiction brought to me, and all the blessings that it made me live such a wholesome, godly life. Very powerful story, and this is the lesson we could all take. It doesn't need to go to such an extreme of addiction. But at some point when we realize that we are stuck as a sharmuad, we are stuck in certain habits that we just can't get out of, at that point we could either try to just keep fighting against the habit, or we could try to go through a Shinei Rishus and say, no longer will I be a man of my own will, I'm now going to become a man of God's will. And the moment I do that, I become a shartam, I become a sincere, whole, complete person above my tendencies, who can now rewire myself, reinvent myself, and approach life from a much truer, more authentic, godly space. Have a good Shabbos.